What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Cash Flows. My name is Wallace, and today's video is going to be about how I go about picking my long-term growth stocks. As I mentioned to you guys before, I consider myself to be like a value long-term growth investor. So what that means is that I like to buy and hold stocks for years at a time and go through the growth pattern that these companies experience. And when I say value investor, I like to get it at a very cheap price. I don't like to pay full price for my stocks. I kind of wait for a good buying opportunity to buy into the market for a particular company. So I came up with 5 aspects of a company that I really look into. So these are pretty simple things I look for before I buy into a stock. It's not really too analytical at all. So let's get right to it. So one really important thing that I look for in a company is that they have lots of cash. And there's 2 main reasons as to why that is. So when a company has lots of cash, that essentially means that they don't necessarily need your money. Trust me, there's a lot of companies that do not need your money. When they have a lot of cash, that just kind of screams joyride to me, because if the whole purpose of their stock being available to you for you to buy is to raise capital so that they can run business better, but they're sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars, that just tells me that they don't need your money, and you're able to invest your money freely and enjoy the growth ride that the company experiences for however long you choose to stay invested. Now, a second big reason as to why I want a company with a lot of cash is because when they do have tons of money on hand, they're able to make big decisions on their company. So that can mean acquiring other businesses to help run their business better. So you may have just heard, actually, Apple just bought a company, or they're looking into buying a company that could help turn their iPhone into a POS or like an Interact machine. So instead of them outsourcing the business from the company, they'd rather just buy the whole company by itself. So that's something that a lot of companies are able to do, which is amazing. Microsoft actually has one of the biggest cash reserves on their balance sheet. So they have over $130 billion in cash. And just to put that in perspective, if they wanted to, they could buy Uber 2 times over and still have $20 billion in cash in their checking account. So when a company has the ability to buy and acquire whole companies at one time, that could really take a simple business idea and make it into a corporation or a conglomerate. So that's how these companies get really huge. They start to acquire the smaller companies under them, and you're able to do that when you have a lot of cash on hand. Now, the great thing is that when companies acquire other companies, both companies' stock tends to rise in value. So mergers are really, really good when it comes to the stock market. You will usually see a lot of cash flowing over to both the company that got bought and the company that purchased the other company at the same time. So the second thing that I look for in companies before I invest into them is kind of inversely to having a lot of cash on hand. It's actually having little to no debt. So you don't really want to invest into a company that owes other corporations or other investors cash. If you've watched Shark Tank before, you'll see that the sharks don't want to really get invested into other people's companies when there's other investors or when they have outstanding loans. And that's very important, because if a company went bankrupt, they would have to pay out their loan or their creditors first before the investors get any share of the money. So that's very important. I like to find companies with little to no debt, because that means that they don't have to owe any money going forward. Now, when you see a company with a lot of cash and with little to no debt, that just really says to you that it's a really well-run company. It's a clean business. They probably have really good revenues, and they get to retain a lot of their revenues because they're not loaning any money out, and they don't really need to add to the cash pile of their checking account or their cash reserve. Typically, that may spell a large dividend or a good dividend that they pay out to their investors. So number 3 is another very important economical thing that I look for in companies, and this is structural growth. So structural growth means that you're investing into a growing company that is in a growing industry. So let me give you an example. As you may realize now with the pandemic, a lot of people are venturing online to purchase their goods and services. E-commerce is a growing business. Now, a great company that's growing in the e-commerce industry would be like Shopify. So Shopify is a company that's growing in size, and it's also growing in a growing industry. That just really says great long-term growth for a company such as Shopify. And you may have realized it's already doubled in 2020 from the beginning of the year. So that's just another great example of what you want to look for in your stocks before you invest into it. Now, the 4th aspect that I look for in a company before I invest is that I want to see a strong leader or a strong family that runs the company or has a large share of the stocks in the company. And there's 2 reasons, once again, why I want to see that. When you have a leader, if they're the creator of the company, they already had a vision for the company well before you even heard of the company. If they already got this far and you're already looking to invest into it, that may say that you already believe in what they're looking to do. So a great leader that you may have heard of would be Elon Musk, and he's the owner and creator of Tesla. He still has a large portion portion of shares in Tesla, and of course he has a vision of where he wants to take Tesla. That just really says great things about a company when you have someone that really believes in what they're doing. The second reason why you want to find a leader or a family of leaders that control a large share of the stock is because your interests are going to be aligned the same way as theirs. If they have stocks in their own company, you know that they're going to want to make sure that their company performs well. So your interests are essentially aligned with the CEO or the owner. So if you've invested into Tesla and you know Elon Musk has Tesla stocks and that contributes to his net worth, he's going to make sure that Tesla performs very well. So you've just aligned your own interests with a billionaire, which is very key. Which you can't really do in the normal world really, but you could do it online in the stock market, which is fantastic. That's actually a big one. I don't even know why I told you guys about that one. That's an X factor one for me. Another great example of a family-led corporation would be like the Walmart family. Although the people still alive in the Walmart family didn't create Walmart, they still control a large portion of the shares, so they have direct interest in making sure that Walmart stocks perform well. And the last thing that I want to mention is that you want to make sure that you're investing into a company with great consumer perception, or in other words, a great brand. So you want to invest into companies that are well known, that everyone has a great feeling about. You want to invest into companies that have a great product or service and that everyone likes their product or service. You don't want to be the only one that likes the product or service. If this is something that is well known, very popular across the globe, and if it looks like it's gaining momentum and gaining popularity, and you start seeing it on TV or in your favorite TV shows and they start hinting to it, that may be something that you want to look a little bit further in and see where this company has the potential to go to, because a lot of companies have a lot of trajectory for them. There's a lot of companies that are here to stay for a long time, so the sooner you get into them, it's probably going to stay the better for you. So one great example of that would be Amazon, of course. So they have great products because they have a lot of great sellers, so you have a lot of variety. They have a great service because you could get your package the next day, and it's a very popular thing. Everyone has Amazon Prime. Everyone knows about Amazon. When you start seeing Amazon on TV, like I've seen Amazon in like comedy shows, or I've seen it in like cartoons. That's big. That's when you know it's something larger than what it anticipated it was going to be in the first place. So that just really says a lot about a company as well. That says it's here to stay. That says it's very popular, widely popular, and that's probably something that you want to invest into. So my last tip that I want to add, I know this isn't part of the 5, but the last thing I want to say, all this means nothing, means absolutely nothing if you're not buying the stock at the right price. So the last thing that you want to do is pay too much for a stock. So that's where I'm going back to being a value investor. You don't want to pay too much for a stock. You want to get it at a cheap price. Now you want to look for a great entry point to buy into these stocks before you do. You don't want to invest into a stock when it hits a new high. Like that's just kind of the worst thing that you want to do. You want to buy in when it hits a dip. So I'll tell you one of my experiences. This is actually like a couple years ago. I was dying to get into Tesla a couple years ago, and I found a really great opportunity, and unfortunately it was when someone passed away in a Tesla. The stock plummeted more than 100 points, and I was able to get Tesla at about $295. That was something that I was grateful for. I was able to find a good entry point. So that's just one of the examples of one of the companies that kind of fits all 5 of these categories, but then I also waited for the right time to buy into it. I don't ever want to pay too much for a stock. Because you gotta wait to actually gain new profits on top of it. So those are my 5 points. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Keep that in your back pocket, because like I said, that is something that I kind of screen for all of my stocks before I buy into it. They're pretty simple and they're not analytical. You don't have to really look up too much in terms of the balance sheet for most of these corporations. Maybe you kind of gotta look up how much cash they have in their cash reserves, but that's about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please do let me know if you have other video ideas that you want me to do. I'll be more than happy to do it. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And as always, thank you for watching.